Idaho Matters is brought to you in part by St. Luke's Pharmacy, now offering free home delivery. For daily medications or one time prescriptions, home delivery is easy to set up. It's convenient and safe. St. Luke's Pharmacy, now delivering to your doorstep. Information on how to get started at stlukesonline.org.
Love Boise State Public Radio podcasts? They are free to enjoy, but not free to produce. If you can give, your support helps keep shows like Idaho Matters and Scandalize available to everyone. Donate now at boisestatepublicradio.org.
More Idaho Matters now from the studios of Boise State Public Radio News. I'm Gemma Gaudette. Every year, NPR dedicates a week to finding ways to reduce emissions and become more resilient as our climate continues to change. The theme for this year's Climate Solutions Week is Local Lessons, and it's designed to look at how cities and states are trying to find climate solutions on a local level. This week is also Heat Safety Week, and the City of Boise and Idaho Clinicians for Climate and Health are working together to help people adapt to higher temperatures and to find ways to keep Boise cool. So joining us now are Ethan Sims with Idaho Clinicians for Climate and Health and Alex Brooks, the Climate Action and Sustainability Coordinator for Boise's Public Works Department. I want to welcome both of you back to the show. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Gemma.
So, Ethan, let me start the conversation with you. Can you remind us, who are Idaho Clinicians for Climate and Health, and what do you do?
Sure. We are a nonprofit focused on educating the clinical workforce, as well as the communities we serve, about the health impacts of climate change and how climate change is driving a lot of major human health issues, and that we should be focusing on preparedness for the future that's coming and is already here in a lot of ways. But also working to find solutions to prevent the most serious effects of climate change from harming the health of our communities.
So, Alex, you were with us last August, and at that time, the city of Boise was mapping urban heat in the Treasure Valley. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, and then about how the temperature is changing in the capital city?
Yeah, we successfully completed our Heat Watch campaign, and we now have heat data compared from 6 years ago to now. And we are definitely seeing an intensification of hot urban areas. A recent NOAA study of 200 US cities came out, and Boise was the 14th fastest warming city in the country, which is concerning. So the city is exploring what types of actions the community wants us to take when it comes to heat, really what solutions fit well in our community. And we're looking at different types of actions, including mitigation, which would be actions we take before the heat to prepare, like Ethan is talking about, and then adaptation actions. So when the heat comes, how do we react to that type of event?
Alex, how surprising was it to see where Boise ranked in that study?
I was pretty surprised. We're at the top of the list with cities and states like Nevada and Texas, where you expect to see the heat. Boise's developing really quickly, and we live in a high desert, and so we will continue to see hotter summers as time progresses.
Ethan, what does that tell you and inform how you do your work as a clinician, in particular, around summertime, right? And how these really hot summers can impact the human body?
Yeah, I think people have an assumption that heat is a risk to us only when you're outdoors exercising, or that the risk of heat comes primarily in students who are playing football practices. But the reality is, heat is a big amplifier of pretty much every underlying health problem, from mental health issues, cardiovascular issues. It even causes lung problems to get worse because heat increases ground ozone levels. And in Idaho, we see this combination of extreme heat with extreme wildfires in the later summers. So I think one thing that I see at work is that it just gets busier when it's hot. We don't have a ton of data in Idaho that teases out exactly what heat is causing to happen in our emergency departments, but we've seen studies and anecdotal examples across the country and the world where during heat events like the heat dome in Seattle, emergency departments are breaking records for visits and having similar strain on their resources like we had at the peak of the COVID pandemic. So
Mm.
this is happening already, and that's what gives me the biggest fear is that we don't understand exactly how bad the heat health impacts are already.
So, Ethan, can you talk to us about Heat Safety Week? What is it and where did this idea come from?
So we are working in tandem with a national organization called the Medical Society Consortium for Climate and Health. And they are really actively promoting this Heat Safety Week that aims to kind of educate people at the beginning of the summer before the heat starts picking up about
Mhm.
how heat is really going to be a risk for us and how we can prepare for it. So this is a really big collaborative national event that is organized under the National Integrated Heat Health Information System, but includes organizations like NOAA and the National Weather Service, in addition to healthcare organizations, trying to kind of let people know in advance of time what they need to do to prepare for heat events. Like I said, I think people think about those school events, but they don't think about older folks that are living alone in places that don't have adequate air conditioning, in places that get really hot, and people don't go check on them and make sure they're staying cool enough. And those people get sick, and those are the ones that we see succumb to heat or
Mhm.
have heart attacks or heart failure exacerbations because of heat.
And Ethan, there's a different topic each day this week, including what is heat related illness, and then heat health safety tips as well. And you mentioned some of those, right? Like checking on your neighbors. But even what is the importance of knowing what a heat related illness is, Ethan? Because a lot of times you might be out in the sun and you might feel just crummy and not realize maybe you're having some type of heat related issue.
Absolutely. And again, I cannot stress this enough, like how much extreme heat, and it's not just the absolute number, it's the wet bulb temperature, the heat plus humidity, in addition to the relative change in temperature. So, people in Phoenix can handle a temperature of 110, whereas in Boise, like not only is our infrastructure not built to handle temperatures like that, but your body's not adapted to temperatures like that. So you're going to start feeling things like fatigue, irritability, as you get hotter and more dehydrated.
Hmm.
And it progresses to things like confusion, dizziness, lightheadedness, passing out. Those are things that we start to see early in emergency departments. But then we see people with kidney disease get kidney failure. We see people with heart disease get heart failure. And those are the people that end up suffering the longest term consequences of extreme heat.
Alex, I know the city of Boise has an entire page on its website dedicated to keeping Boise cool. Can you talk to us about how the city is working on this and what folks can do individually?
Yeah, a couple of the things that the city's been working on through the Elaine Clegg City of Trees Challenge. We've planted over 20,000 urban trees since 2020, and we have a goal of planting 100,000 trees by 2030. All of our new park and playground designs include more shade structures, water features, and more nature play areas to help combat the heat. And just this last week, we created the Boise Heat Work Group that will be meeting throughout the spring to begin collaborative efforts. This group includes healthcare partners like Ethan and ICCH, academics and researchers, nonprofit groups, and other local agencies like the National Weather Service. So we're meeting to compare notes, talk about options, because when it's over 100 degrees for 5 days in a row, it's too late to start making smart decisions about heat. So we need to start having these conversations now, in anticipation for the hot temperatures we will be seeing more often.
Mhm. Ethan, why is it important for groups like yours to be partnering with, others, in particular, like the city of Boise, to try and fight heat and really to make sure that people stay safe in the hot weather? And I realize, we're not there yet. And so it may not be top of mind for people, but before we know it, we're going to be seeing those 100-degree days in the Treasure Valley.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so important for an event like this to happen in May, so that we can inspire some preparedness. And I think the city is our most crucial partner for those of us who live in Boise. But we'd love to see partnerships like this expand to county levels and state levels, like we've seen in other states like New Mexico and Texas, where state departments of environmental quality or state departments of health have worked with clinicians who are, manning the hospitals that are dealing with all these heat events, with the weather service who's helping with forecasting and predicting and, telling people what's coming, with academics so we can have data like we don't have here in Idaho that tells us, how are we being impacted by heat now, and are the interventions we're trying working? So I think this collaborative effort that we're having with the city right now is so crucial to ensuring that Boise stays livable and stays safe for people as we see the temperatures go up every year.
Well, I want to thank both of you so much for taking time to talk with us. We've been speaking with Ethan Sims with Idaho Clinicians for Climate and Health, and Alex Brooks, the Climate Action and Sustainability Coordinator for Boise's Public Works Department, talking about heat safety. You can find out more about NPR's Climate Solutions Week at our website, boisestatepublicradio.org. You've been listening to the Idaho Matters podcast from Boise State Public Radio. To stay in touch, you can find quick Idaho daily news every morning when you subscribe to the Connector podcast. Are you subscribed to this Idaho Matters podcast yet? Make sure you're following so you never miss an episode.
Every day on Up First, NPR's Golden Globe-nominated morning news podcast, we bring you 3 essential stories. At the heart of each story are questions. What really happened? What really mattered? What happens next? At NPR, we stand for your right to be curious and to follow the facts. Follow Up First wherever you get your podcasts and start your day knowing what matters and why.